Thank you, Pak Norman. Wow, good news. Windows Phone number 2 now, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh? Wow, number 2 Windows Phone. Ah, I'm using Windows Phone anyway, so I'm a supporter.
Since you're here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here also. I'm using Windows. So before we go to the discussion session, we have something to give a brief recap to you guys. This is 2014, right? So you definitely want to know what happened in 2013. So this is just a brief recap of some data that we compiled, right? So wait, oh. This is the data for 2012. 55 million mobile phone connection, mobile data connection. All looks good, all looks rosy. The internet penetration, the credit card penetration, all is okay. Not the best, but it's growing. Next. Yep, we also, yeah, in 2012 still, the boom, it was about travel industry. The money went there, and we also had quite a few players came up and became someone. One of which I became Gomla. Very nice, very nice. Next. Then we went on to 2013. So what happened between 2012 and 2013? Everything grows except for notably, well, everything grows. Internet user, mobile phone, smartphone, tablet, PC, mobile data, everything is good. Next. Everything grows except credit card ownership. Nah, that's interesting. A drop from 15.5 million in 2012 into 14.7 million. However, don't worry, the value transaction for credit card still growing, rose by 5.8%. Digital ads market, 138 million, 6% spent on mobile devices. Bank account penetration, and in short, everything grows, everything happy. Yeah. So you guys are riding on the wave, a good wave to tech growth in Indonesia. This is some data that we compiled in 2013. When it comes to startups, we also take a look at which startup businesses got funded and also got acquired. We found 30, and about half of them is getting from e-commerce industry. The rest we have video, apps, and payments, media, even platform. But that's what happened in 2013. So Indonesia is still growing. Everybody understands that this is a good market, and it's going only to get bigger in the following years. And we also have, and when it comes to startups that got funded, they are mostly, we are seeing, when it comes to getting funded, we are seeing good success stories, small wins getting funded, especially from the e-commerce industries. Yeah. So what's going to happen in 2014? This is just some stuff that we compiled, something that happened in 2014. For example, we know that telcos like XL, Telkomsel, now they are reaching out to more OTT players, apps developers. That's one. We also had China giants coming inside Indonesia, like Tencent, like Baidu, yeah, coming here. And how will they change the industry? We also have more people building apps, and interestingly, we have more marketplaces to choose. Last year we had only 3: Multiply, Bukalapak, and Tokopedia. Multiply died, and then we only had 2. It wasn't that long, and then we have more. We have Elevania from XL, we have Belanja from eBay, we have Lamido from Rocket Internet. So there are more players, something that we can look forward to seeing them battling out this year. Yeah. Right, I guess that's actually a brief recap of what happened. Right, so let's just get this started and invite our dear speakers. First off, let's invite Pak Andi Budiman to the stage. Yeah, Pak Andi Budiman is a VC at Idea Source. He also overlooks Shopify in Indonesia.
Not really, but that's another story.
Another story that okay lah. We'll hear it. And oh yeah, VC and also something to tell about Shopify. We also have the second speaker today. This is, let's give it up for Pak Natali. Silakan, monggo. So Natali is the head CEO of Ticket.com. I'm sure that maybe most of us have bought something from Ticket.com. Yep. And he also the head one of the initiatives for the biggest Jakarta startup community, startup lokal. So, all set?
Check.
Okay. Can everybody hear?
It's not too loud.
Oh.
Check.
Is that okay? No?
Oh.
I don't mean like
Is that okay?
Yes. I think I just talk loud.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for taking part in this this event.
Yes.
I remember that last year it was the exact same place and also same speaker at Andy.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It was mostly we discussed a lot about commerce and payment at that time.
And we also have a new person here, Pak Natali. Now I want to ask. I gave some recap about 2015, but what's the highlights of 2013 for you guys?
Well, in terms of transaction, 2012 and 2013, 2013 we see a very, very massive growth because, well, as you might know that people now are willing to transact online. Based on our own experience at Ticket.com from 2012 to 2013, our revenue growth is 1,300%.
1,300% revenue growth in 1 year.
Yes.
Mantap.
So we actually internally we talked to the other boards and we were wondering what happened, what we did, what did we do to make this kind of growth, and we cannot find it out. It's just basically a user now are willing to transact online.
So they're more willing. When it comes to, is it because when it comes to trust, is it more trustworthy now? Is it more normal to do something online?
For instance, like based on payment method. In 2012, the number one payment method is as usual bank transfer. But in 2013, our credit card transaction is actually a lot more higher than bank transfer. And it's quite a surprise because we actually, what we understand is that people don't like to use credit card because of the fraud. But eventually when we see the data, the credit card is actually the biggest in Ticket.com. For your information, at Ticket.com we have 14 methods of payments. So we know either it's a mobile payment, online payment, and any other payments. We have the data, so we really love to tinker about the data. For instance, like the book to pay ratio between methods of payment, it's quite diverse. For instance, like bank transfer, the book to pay ratio is actually 80%. So the funny thing is that having to transfer, this is a virtual account, so you have to go to the ATM, and the funny thing is 80% of them actually pays. It's very different to, for instance, like ClickPay is only like 20%, and CMB Clicks, ePayBRI is around 30%. So the surprising thing is that we call it success rate of the transaction is a lot higher than bank transfer.
Nice. How about credit card? So
credit card is around 59 to 60%. So for instance, like the BCA, we have three BCA method of payment. The first one is Click BCA, the second one is Click Play, and the the third one is Rintis. So it's a special money in the payment method. The Click BCA, the transaction is really, really huge, and the payment ratio is around 60. It's quite high, 60 to 70%, but the Click Pay is very, very low. So the funny thing is that BCA now doesn't open any Click BCA partners. They only open Click Pay partners, but the Click BCA partners is actually the biggest. And we are actually lucky because Ticket is actually the last Click BCA partner. So eventually, that if you guys try to use the Click Pay, the transaction is very, very low.
Right. Just to get things in order, yeah. What's the difference between Click Pay and Click BCA?
So in Click BCA, you only answers the username of the Click BCA, and then you have to go to the website clickbca.com to transact online. Click Pay, you only have to click check out, and then we will redirect you to the Click BCA website.
Okay, so.
But the funny thing is, yeah, people are, because actually the SOP for Click BCA is that we cannot put any URL, the Click BCA URL in our website, so people have to type it themselves, and the conversion rate is actually a lot higher than the one that only just click and then transact.
Interesting, interesting. So credit card transaction grows a lot.
Yes, credit card, we have like around 230 million a day. For transfer, it's 180 a day.
Nice. Okay, so that's the highlight. So when it comes to transaction, grows a lot.
Yeah,
huge.
Card is really huge, but from all the 14 methods of payment, the only fraud is the credit card.
The only fraud.
Yeah, credit card there's still a lot of fraud, and sometimes customer when they book flights and they have to reschedule the flights. Since the airline carriers that we have is low-cost carrier, so they cannot change because there's no refund. Eventually, they call the bank and mark it as fraud, just so that the money comes back to them and they book another flight.
Oh,
so,
right. Anyway, a request from the audience. Speak louder because they can't hear. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the one on the farthest back.
Really sorry.
Yeah, so maybe we can do our best to use this mic. So that's the highlight. So Adi, so what's your highlight in 2013?
2013, I think for Ideal Source, it's actually we did a lot of incubation investment. We did about 6 or 7 companies that we invested. Then, but late on 2013, we are a bit slow. We are more conservative because we want to see the result, how we invest. Because when we started in 2011, we find that there is not many Indonesian startup that is quite sizable. So that's why we try to see whether an incubation model is the right model. But turns out when we decided that after the first bit of incubation, I think we want to continue with the more on the VC model. So we like to invest more on a venture capital instead of incubation. Because on the incubation side, there's a lot of process of handholding, helping the startup, but the process is taking quite long. So, but we are happy to work with so many of very talented startups. So far, out of 8 companies that we invested, most of them, not one, they are going strong. And even like Tanzan is already invested by Japanese cyber agent, and probably you will hear they will announce another investment round. But I cannot disclose it. It has to be from them. But so far, that's one of the highlights. But during 2013, I think I see a lot of traction in e-commerce business. Yeah, because basically, like I have mentioned at the previous event, there's only 4 business models in this any business. 4 business model. One you want to sell content, right? Meaning that I invest in Tuxten, any content company is a business model. Second, the business model is selling advertising. Yeah. In this case, for advertising, you have to be, sorry, if you want to get into advertising, especially in the media side, the challenge is actually getting so much traffic. If you have less than 1 million page view per day, then it's very, very difficult to get revenue from the advertising side. Probably, it's a comparison probably like a newspaper like Kompas or MRA Group like Cosmopolitan and the rest, right? The business model for newspaper is basically advertising. But if you go to a smaller magazine, usually they combine advertising as well as event organizing. That has also happened in the digital media. Last year, one of the fastest growing media that I see is my old friend from Kapan Lagi. They released new media called Merdeka.com. Now, last year, just within 8 months, it grows from 0 to number probably 40 traffic in Alexa within just 8 months. Yeah. The way they do that is actually because they leverage all the traffic from their existing media. Their first media, Kapan Lagi, I was there when they set up Kapan Lagi in 2003. Takes them 8 years to get what they are today. The second, what they did for Bola.net, takes them 3 years to get that clicks to the level of 1 million page view per day. The last media, Merdeka.com, just taking 8 months. Yeah. So there's a lot of new growth on the user side, but the business model, again, advertising can only, you can get into advertising if you get at least 1 million page view per day. In mobile, probably you can survive with 100,000 page view per day. Less than that, it's not that lucrative as a business model. So that is the second business model, which is you will get into the advertising business. Three business model.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Third business model basically is you selling products, which is e-commerce. Retail in Indonesia is so damn big, meaning that each of the individual products, from convenience, fast-moving consumer goods or everything, there's a vertical retail for every individual product. Let's say in US you see Walmart, you will see Target, you will see in Indonesia you see the similar model. We already have like fashion, we have like Zalora probably, like Indonesia Matahari as a comparison. You see Lazada, basically they try to sell everything like Amazon. Then Bineka starting with IT, but they branch it to computer gadget now. Blibli, I think it's quite getting into the same space with Lazada, try to sell everything. Then there's so many vertical, like Ticket.com is a travel space. There's should be a, like if you go to mall, you see kiosks, whatever the name My Ticket, because they're selling only for like concert ticket. Even like 7-Eleven is getting into selling tickets. You will see Bruno Mars in this March was going to sell the ticket at 7-Eleven. So imagine that. I mean, everybody can have that access. If you go to Java Jazz now, Java Jazz costs you like 200-300,000. Just one lunch in a place for 2-3 guys is actually already paying your 3 days at Java Jazz. 150,000 people coming to that event, and it's too crowded for me. It's no longer for event like me. I'm too old to come to that. Queuing for if you want to go to the toilet, you have to queue like an hour. So I don't want to do that. I prefer to pay a lot more than queuing 1 hour for going to the toilet. So I think it's not for me anymore. So, but that is the challenge actually. If you see this model, one business model is content. Second is advertising. Number 3 is products. Product is selling very well because of the consumer. Number 4 is service. Service business model can come into the high-end model like advertising. If you go like digital agency growing very, very well, all of the graduates from the digital, or not digital, from visual communication school soon to open their own digital agency, because it's so damn easy to sell Facebook likes, right? per likes 3,500 rupiah per likes, or one follower 3,000 per follower for Twitter. So everybody can do that, yeah, right? So it's easy to set up a digital agency. But that model, you can go to the high end, or you go to the massive infrastructure like telco side. I always give an example like Telkomsel. What is if you sell products? What is your cost of goods sold? Basically, the product that you acquire, then you sell, right? There's margin that you keep, right? In telco, what is the COGS? Nothing. It's air. You don't. I mean, you practically charge a tower that is already built. It's already, you know, if you build once, it's a capital expenditure. But there's no COGS. The cost is only people. So the margin for telco is the business comes. I mean, the dream comes true is no cost whatever. So telco is still making the biggest money, right? Because of that no cost, there's no COGS. Yeah, but they built a very strong infrastructure. So if I'm being asked about the potential of this industry, internet industry as a whole, what is the potential biggest industry in every place in the world? There's only two business models. Either selling products like e-commerce or selling services like Google, like Telkomsel. But you don't, I mean, the agency model is good for cash flow, but the most scalable is only these two. So this is going to be the biggest. If I go back to what I see in 2013, the most important is not the internet company, but the consumer. What is the most important is the consumer. Why? Because like what you already showed in your data, in every place in the world, there's an adoption life cycle. What adoption life cycle? If you want to understand this more, you can Google the name Geoffrey Moore. He's the one that have this thesis about that every consumer that every product, every technology that being adopted, being used by more than 30% of the population is going mainstream. Yeah. Before that, like Indonesia have 250 million population. So 20% is about 50 million. 30% is about 75. This year we already have 75, right? So we already living from the early adopter market to become a mainstream market. Internet is going to be a utility. It's going to be like electricity and water. So you will need it everywhere you go. In Indonesia, we have this what we call as fakir baterai sama fakir wifi. Di mana-mana nyoloknya harus cari colokan sama cari wifi. That is going to be the biggest momentum is not the company. The biggest momentum is because the market is ready. What I mark as 2012, 2013 is the market for Indonesian internet now is very ready. It's just a matter of time. E-commerce, when I did Plaza.com at the time 2009, the first study that I did, there's only 3% of the population, that ever to buy online. Now probably already 6, 7, 8% probably. I haven't done any primary study yet, but consider that out of 75 million people. So the market now is ready. If there's only 10% of these people shop online, there's only 7.5 million buying online. There is a lot of people, and there is only a small market compared to the potential of 75 million to 250 million. Yeah, mobile now is already more than 200 million. Connected device in Indonesia 230 million according to the telco side, meaning that one person have the access to the internet more than using one device. One probably through cell phone, laptop,
the USB.
Yes, USB, and then whatever. Like in my house, my daughter have 2 gadgets. My wife have 2 gadgets, I have 3 gadgets. So when we travel, so many batteries, so many whatever. The problem is just too many gadgets, and they cannot live without Wi-Fi. So one day have to shut it down and then we go holiday, right? So that is the highlight.
Nice. Thank you very much. I kind of wonder though, the 10% people who bought things online, is it centralized in Java or quite dispersed? What do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, the biggest transaction is actually from Jakarta. So it's still consistent. And yeah, but this is the good news actually. I'm looking myself as a travel industry, but as I understand from the e-commerce industry, especially if you're selling items that people cannot buy in their own cities. For instance, like clothing, things like that. It's actually the outer Jakarta is actually the biggest and the most average revenue per user. Why? Because they don't have any stores there, and eventually they browse through online. But one thing for sure is that the most successful one is actually the one that is selling below 200,000 rupiah for women. So
this is fashion, right?
Yeah. So if you're targeting women, you should target something that is below 200,000 rupiah. Why? Because actually, when a woman try to purchase something, they actually only try. The keyword is try. So when they bought it and it doesn't fit them, she can give it to any of their spouse, and then eventually they can buy the actual size for them. Because the problem is you cannot check it. You cannot measure, you cannot feel. So what they do is they try to buy it, and if they are happy with the quality, even though it doesn't fit, they will eventually continue to transact. And the good thing about Indonesian is that they are very, very loyal. Indonesian is very, very loyal. So eventually, if you are able to acquire, a person to purchase at your website, the most probable thing is that they will repurchase again from your website. Like Ticket.com, we have an average of 3 point something shopping carts per customer. Transactions per customer. We think it's actually really, really big because, well, as you understand, looking at the average, so we can calculate that how much do we spend for the advertising, and then eventually the ROI is still a lot more bigger rather than like a one-time customer, things like that. That's what the main reason why Indonesian is loyal is that because there's a lot of people that doesn't trust websites. For your information, we're very lucky because in Ticket.com we have 5 products: hotel, flight, train, consult, and rent a car. And the train is for social economy CND, right? Because we're selling economy train. So they are very, very careful about selecting their websites because, as you know, fraud in Indonesia is getting very, very smart. Did you know that in October 2013, there's this 3 fraud from 3 different persons that is selling very, very cheap mobile phones. Sometimes you get it in an SMS, like 50% to 70% discount, and this 3% is actually running the fraud inside the prison. Yeah. So it's quite surprising. How do you try to imprison someone that is already in prison? So that's technology. You can run it anywhere and even inside prison. So yeah. So that's why they're very, very careful about transaction, and if they're happy, they will try it and try it again. But there's one problem for this kind of users, the CND type. In Ticket.com, we have a lot of transaction where the users doesn't have emails. So the question is, how do you transact in a website that doesn't have that the customer doesn't have email? Because usually you use the emails to send vouchers, right?
Can you say that if they don't have email, they mostly don't have bank accounts also, or do they?
We have several people that actually transfer the bank through teller. So yeah, transferring through bank is not a problem. But the problem now is they don't have emails. So
what they do is actually call. That's why if you notice a lot of e-commerce website, you put BlackBerry, you put WhatsApps. Usually nowadays WhatsApps, right? Because BlackBerry, they have this capacity, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000 contacts, BB contacts, I forgot, or 10,000. So people will have like several BlackBerries so they can handle all the customers. But yeah, what we did is that people call to our call center. We use our customer services email, but we ask for their phone numbers. So what we did, yeah, we send the voucher through SMS. And all the method of payments is actually redeemable through SMS. You know, like nowadays, if you show the booking code through the SMS, the airlines will take it, and the hotel too, and also the train. So Indonesia is really unique, especially for the social economy, lower social economy, because they are willing to try transacting online, although through phone. And even though they don't have email, they still have the effort to try to transact online. So that's the very, very unique thing about this industry. But I believe, yeah, I can really feel, you know, like Ticket.com, we have 1,300% growth. And next year, we really believe that the growth is actually still very, very huge. Why? Because we believe that the e-commerce industry, in the online e-commerce, is growing a lot more larger than actually the players, you know. Because the growth of the players, I think what we see is the same old, same new people, you know, like Bill Nye, Ferry Tenkai, and they coming from a previously e-commerce website too, and sometimes the investor only trusts people that has track records, things like that. So we believe that the industry is growing really rapid, but the players is still, the growth is really, really slow. But that's a very huge opportunity for you guys, because by then, so you're not worrying about eating somebody's pie, because the pie is actually still huge.
Okay, so there's still a lot of market to grab for everybody, is it?
Yes, of course, because, you know, like, yeah, for ladies, they like options, you know, so that when they are bored with this one website, you know, transacting 3-4 times, they'll try another website and then another website, and eventually, if they run out of websites, they will return to your websites too, right? So that's why, but the problem is now that the e-commerce player now is coming not from Indonesia, but from outside the country. That is something that we have to be very, very careful, because, yeah, eventually, I will say to everyone that we are entering the penjajahan 2.0, you know, the colonization 2.0. So back in the old days, 300 years ago, our natural resource is taken by those foreigners, right? Now the digital resource is, you know, taken by the foreigners. So if we are not, you know, actively, progressively budding entrepreneurship in Indonesia, eventually, yeah, we will just become another consumer. So yeah, our GDP, 70% is actually consumerism. That's why in the monetary crisis, we don't get hit by them, because we consume 70% of them, you know. Different from countries in Europe, you know, that, for instance, like Ireland, their 70% is actually exports. So when they cannot export, their financial, you know, become trouble. But in Indonesia, we don't feel that, because we're, you know, very, very fond of consuming. One thing is good, so that, yeah, our companies, you know, grow really, really well. But the bad thing, yeah, consumerism, is that, yeah, the economic growth is very, very, you know, like a camouflage. We see that it looks very, very huge, but it's actually only consumerism, you know, not the development of the country.
We should start to become, well, producers rather than just consumers, right?
Yeah, especially in 2015, we have like 30 customer services, and we're going to grow up to 80 customer services. And most probably we will hire people from Philippines rather than from Indonesia. Why? Because in 2015, if you don't know, we have this Asian economy.
Do you want to colonialize?
No, not that, but in my previous startups called Indonesia, the founder, one of the founders, Japanese, he worked here and then he got picked up by the police. But in 2015, anybody can work in any country in Asia, and you don't have to have work permit. So eventually we will hire people from Philippines for customer service. Why? Because they talk English very well, right? So that's the risk too for you guys, because if you don't grow your talent into an international talent, eventually we will replace with somebody that's actually we pay almost the same, but with a better accent. You know why Philippines? Because Philippines, when they talk English, there's no accent, not like in India, right? So in India, your accent is like you can recognize your accent, but in people from Philippines, their English is very, very well. So that's why you guys have to be careful, because 2015 is like you know the death card for us if you don't globalize yourself.
I see. So okay, before we go to the 2015 and we talk about startups.
Yeah, that's why 2014 we have to plan earlier. Because 2015 we have to build all the infrastructures. They have the knowledge, they have the entrepreneurship, and yeah, the good thing is by the end of 2014, the Bank of Indonesia regulates that all the bank has to have 3D secure. So in our case, the only fraud is coming from those banks that doesn't have 3D secure. For instance, like Bank Rakyat Indonesia, the BRI, and I forgot one other bank. So by the end of 2014, you guys don't have to worry about fraud, because there will be zero fraud. So now you can focus on making more money rather than worrying on the technology and infrastructure, because now the fraud detection system is still quite expensive, right? But by the end of 2014, you actually don't need fraud detection. All you need is that if it's coming from Indonesia bank, just let it go. They can use the 3D secure, because when they use 3D secure, it's called shifted liability. So now the one liable, if there's a fraud, is Visa or MasterCard, not us. Yeah, so that's what I see in 2015.
Good to hear. But so let's talk about a bit about mobile industry now. So one of the things that I realized is that well, one of the things that that you see is that more Indonesian companies and startups are building apps. Is it a good trend, or do you think that everybody now must start think mobile? Is that a good mindset?
Okay. I always start with the market. Even though we have more than 230 million mobile users in Indonesia, the biggest question when you talk about apps, it's always about which platform that they will be available. Yeah. For me, at a time when we invested in Touch10, why we invested in a company like that, it's simple, because their market is not Indonesia at a time. The market is global. The one of the first games called Sushi Chain, their latest ramen chain, Infinite Sky, all of them is already more than 1 million downloads. They are not the only one. One Indonesian company creating icon for quiz. The company name? Allegri. It's a good friend of mine as well. Their total download is 40 million downloads. 40 million downloads. You cannot get that amount of, you cannot get that many users only focusing on Indonesia. So if you're an apps developer, for me it's always aim for the global market from day one. If you're an app developer, why? Because the distribution channel is so damn cheap. It's Android. If you cannot compete on global, just find a very good niche, but it's a big enough market, and create a big very good apps to compete globally. You can always go to the local. Yes, the answer is yes. Why not? Yeah, Indonesia is big enough anyway. 230 million. Yeah. In 2014, right? Our biggest competitor actually not coming from Indonesia, but most of our biggest competitor is coming from China. Baidu, Tencent, 91, all the biggest player on the apps is going to Indonesia. When they come to Indonesia, they will bring like, at least 100,000 or 1 million apps to be localized. How can you compete with that? Yeah, they're very serious investing in Indonesia. Tencent already signing up an agreement with MNC Group, and the rest is already seriously talking. That is on the apps level. On the messaging, the first #1 player now already WhatsApp, already more than BlackBerry Messenger. BlackBerry Messenger now becomes #2, and then the other 3 player, Line, still the highest, KakaoTalk and WeChat. Each of them is very, very serious about Indonesia. They spend like damn crazy money just on the marketing side. Yeah. So this is your competitor actually. If you want to get into the messaging, you at least will fight with these 5 guys and this stuff. If you go to the apps, then you will fight with the Baidu and everything that is going into Indonesia, and also tough. So if you are a content developer, just build the best damn apps available to compete globally, because there's no local or international, because all the international apps going to Indonesia anyway. So for me, it's a good thing, because we to be quite lucky to invest in one company that is that capability of able to compete and good enough to really compete globally. And if you cannot go to the apps, then you go become a platform player. We see Kota Games. Kota Games is a good traction because they're focusing on a feature phone. Yeah, they have a good traction, and they are working with the local telco. They are supporting by the local telco. You can do that as well. I just got on my path that MiG-33 is going public in Australia. Yeah, just happens like a few minutes ago from a friend. So actually I don't know if some of you already read my blog. If not, then I can share the URL later on. I wrote that in 2015 there's going to be an Indonesian company that is going public. Yeah, either on e-commerce or payment. There is 2 other biggest potential, but definitely not apps yet. Yeah. Why? Because the number, the value of the transaction, the value of the number of people that are using the product. So again, on the mobile side, agree, mobile is a good channel, but either you go to the telco, you're very close to them, or if you are app developer, for me it's better to aim globally than only aim in Indonesia. Indonesia is a good play, but it's why? The market is big enough, and there's so many countries in the world. Yeah, like Touchstand is focusing on US, Japan, Indonesia, and China. They don't care about the rest because they don't understand the market anyway. Yeah, you can start to focus on one country or whatever, but look for quite a big region, not only for a very specific country. Yeah. Now, all the apps that is from China, the biggest player there is always, the model is MMOG, massive multiplayer online, like previously MMORPG, massive multiplayer online role-playing games, soon to be ported to mobiles. It's going to be available in Bahasa, by Baidu, by all the big guys. So you will see that. And when that happens, the biggest money can be created because of the virtual item. Yeah. And that will happen in Android, not in iPhone. So iPhone is cool, but you cannot really making money unless you go global. Android, if you have the model of distributing using the prepaid card, it's a very, very good model. Yeah. You can use Indomob to distribute or MOL or any other prepaid. That company in Indonesia previously, and you know Crayon, their revenue 1 year is $50 million in Indonesia only from one game, Point Blank. Yeah, you're crazy enough to pay prepaid for playing MMORPG, right? So that is actually the biggest MMORPG company in Indonesia. The second is Lito, yeah, Ragnarok and the rest, and then number 3 is Megasus. That model can be brought to mobile easily. It's just a matter of time that I see a local player that are able to build that kind of a quality of games. Okay.
Okay, but Natalie just talk about not getting colonialized, right, by well, invading countries. And now you're saying that when it comes to mobile, well, maybe the best thing to do is just abandon Indonesia. No. Wait. Saying that, well, go global. What do you think?
No. What I mean is that, now for instance, like Agoda, they don't pay any tax in Indonesia, so eventually there's no revenue for Indonesia. But to add the perspective from Pak Andi, if you're asking about the mobile device, at Ticket.com, especially in e-commerce, when you are deciding whether you're going to build a mobile web or a mobile app, I really recommend you create a mobile app rather than making a mobile web. So in our Ticket.com perspective, the conversion rate for our website is 6%. For the mobile web is 5%, but for the mobile app is 0%. But the transaction is a lot more bigger in the mobile app than the mobile web. And eventually the transaction in mobile web is using iPad. They're seeing the native website, not the mobile version. So it's really hard to sell e-commerce using mobile web, but it's a lot more effective in mobile apps. So that's one perspective that we found out. But the one thing that you have to be prepared when you're making a mobile app is that you have to be technologically ready. Your server have to be ready, because why? For instance, like at Ticket.com, we have found that sometimes people reaches 10,000 searches to just get one booking, one payment. So since it's very easy to search at mobile apps, people tend to browse a lot. So that they browse, so that from all the 10,000 searches, we only get like one payment. But the searches is a lot. For instance, like we actually don't have native apps, we have partners apps. They have like 200,000 downloads for Android, and the revenue is a billion rupiah from that one app. But one perspective too is that when you're selling e-commerce, I recommend that you implement it in Androids. So for instance, like this Android device, they can have like 150 transactions a day, but for iPhone only like 14 transactions. For BlackBerry around 2 to 5 transactions. So Android is actually the biggest in terms of e-commerce transaction. But if you're like a gaming company, I really recommend iPhone. Why? Because the in-app is very easy to use. Okay? You don't have to go to the stores to buy the vouchers or to transfer manually. All you have to do is click. Yeah, so that the perspective is like that in the mobile devices.
How about Windows Phone?
I cannot tell. We don't have Windows Phone.
Oh, okay. So, right. We're gonna open some Q&A session in a bit on. So if you have any questions, feel free to prepare them now. So let's talk about investment scene in general now. Yeah. Well, looking at the startup point of view first, what ideas or problems do you think that startups can try to solve this year?
Yeah, what I see is that sometimes Indonesia like to say that you have to be creative, you have to be different, you have to build something different. I want to say that actually you should copy anything that is successful out there to Indonesia, especially in the e-commerce side, because it's really funny that we don't have this kind of e-commerce in Indonesia, but you're trying other unsuccessful e-commerce type, you know, and not e-commerce, I mean unsuccessful, you know, like startups, you know, because sometimes I really don't, I'm really flabbergasted by those people that thinks that, yeah, being an entrepreneur is going to be cool if you're doing something new, yeah. You don't have to think about that now because for instance, like if you're not making it, anyone from outside this Indonesia will bring it to Indonesia, and eventually we have something that is similar to out there, but coming not from ourselves, not from Indonesia, but from from China, from Japan, from Singapore. So I'm asking all entrepreneurs, you know, to try to implement the successful e-commerce that is already there in outside of the country and try to implement it here. Don't be ashamed that you're, you know, like it's just similar to this e-commerce and stuff, because actually the e-commerce industry is very, very huge. I always tell people try the e-commerce because it's actually very, very easy, and it's, you know, like a pyramid. It will become your base, you know, and then if you're successful, you can create another one on top, and if you're not successful, you can still have this base to eventually create another, you know, more crazier but more high returns e-commerce, or even any other, you know, like news portal or social media. But you should try e-commerce, because if we're not doing any e-commerce, the other people will, and that will be a problem here.
Any examples, ideas, e-commerce outside that we can talk?
Yeah, well, focus on niche product, because, you know, the reason why I'm focusing on niche is that the keywords, you will have a lot of similar keywords in your websites, and at least at the Google point of view, your website will be a lot more higher rather than having a, you know, having palu gada, you know, having all the products like a marketplace or everything, because the keyword will not be unique, and in Google term of view, yeah, they cannot capture what kind of products are you trying to sell. You know, like Ticket.com, we always be placed in 2, 3, or 4 below the airlines itself. Why? Because our niche product, you know, about pesawat terbang or cheap airlines. Yeah, because we're focusing on those keywords, right? And if you're not focusing on that kind of keywords, yeah, eventually you have to use SEM. And SEM nowadays is now getting expensive and expensive. Last year, for travel, it's around $1. Now it's $2 per click. And the revenue for airlines is like 4%. So you can figure how much that you have to spend, and are you going to be profitable? By the way, Ticket.com is already profitable since May. So, yeah, so we're not focusing on those kind of, you know, SEM, because yeah, it's getting more expensive. You have to be creative, you know, working with banks, making billboards, things like that, and yeah, trying other method of advertising.
Right. Awesome. Any ideas that you would invest, Andy?
Okay. You mentioned about the kind of product, or because on our perspective, if we invest in startup, we invest in the person, not only on the product. We have to believe in the business model or the business idea, but we actually invest on the founder. Why? Because the company is too small, and anything can happen. The competitor can come, everything will go. Do you believe in the founder or not? If you believe, then we always see the potential in the founder first, the business idea, and the potential market. These three things that we see. The market is ready now for everything. Previously, I recommend a lot of model to be made through B2B, business to business. Now with Indonesia going to become a consumer internet, anything that goes into the consumer is good. Now I believe in urbanization. Previously, I don't believe it. Why? Because it's too early. Now I will see urbanization will be here, or Yelp will be here, Uber will be here. All the 2.0 model in US that you can think of, you can copy and you bring it to Indonesia will be there. You can see Airbnb, whatever the model is going to be here. Why? Because the market is ready now. Previously, I don't believe in that model because as simple as the market is not ready. Yeah. Any 2.0 model you can copy, you can think of. If I believe in you, then I might be investing in you. So as simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Depends on the person. Now we're going to open the question to the floor. Anybody would like to ask some questions? Yeah. Right. While we wait, yeah, one thing that I want to ask in general investment point of view, we know that there are some cases of seed funding in Indonesia, but when it comes to follow-up funding, there's still not a lot, right? What's the difference between those who can get the seed funding and cannot get the follow-up, or yeah, what's the problem here in Indonesia?
Follow up here. Okay. I don't try to. Okay. To give you an example, for me in Indonesia, there's a few venture capital in Indonesia that is really serious. Like what I see, one is venture, then one is IU Source, one is a Merah Putih. They are consistent, meaning that within 3 years we are still here. Yeah, there's so many early investors. It's not here anymore. Why? Because they see only an opportunity, a chance that they do like a 1 or 2 shot, then they go away. Don't find this kind of only one shot opportunity. But why? Because if you're not really a player, if you're not as part of this pipeline, meaning that you don't have the network, the value of the seed capital is always the network, not only on the money. We are not in the US model. You can go to Y Combinator and then you go to be invested by somebody else and you get like 100,000 US dollar, then already become a big company. That is not going to happen in Indonesia. Why? Again, the ecosystem is not complete yet. It's already a better one, but it's not complete by far. So be very careful to pick your first investor, the seed capital. And then the second, I see there's these three, like give you an example. Then I see like cyber agent is very serious. Then I see IMJ Finance is also serious. There's also many numbers of potential secondary investor, but the way you look at it is always see, are they commit on the long term that they're going to be here to help you? Yeah, because Indonesia is still a bit of jungle, that you need value more than money. On your first, on the second, probably if you're already big enough, then on the third, the fourth one, you need a dump money. You only need like 10 million, 20 million US dollar. You don't have to interfere with whatever operation that I will do because I do better. Then you will need that later on, not now. So why cannot you get the second follow-on or whatever? Because again, the company that is being invested in the first is sometimes it's too small. The founder sometimes is not ready. Probably the market is not ready. So it's not about the fault of the investor, but the entire understanding of the entire ecosystem. The founder, the market, the funding is not ready. But so in the end, I just give the advice to select an investor. You have to be very, very aware that you don't want to get only the money. You want to get more. I believe If ticket is not invested by somebody that's giving them support, not only the money, they are not like as big as today. They have a good angel. They are giving value more than just money. So that is what you have to look for more than money actually.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. One of the, as a startup local initiator, one of the problem here is that even the founder is not visionary. You know, like when somebody asks you, if I give you 10 million, what would you do? You don't know the answer. That's the problem. You know, that's why you're not getting any more next funding or next series of investment, because if you got the investment, you don't know what to do. That's the problem now. Ask yourself, yeah. If I have seed funding and I'm already successful and I'm going to get a Series A funding, I'll get 10 million. What would I do? If you can answer that, then you probably are valuable enough to get investment. But if you still now cannot answer how to spend that 100 billion rupiah, then you're not ready yet. Because yeah, that's what I see from some of the founders. And sometimes the founders is you know, their vision is not, you know, like 5-10 years, but their vision is like 2 years exit, or try it just to try it. The keyword is not, they're not trying passionately enough to, you know, make the startups successful, or even not finding a good co-founder. Being a single founder is really hard, right? So that's the problem with startups nowadays, and that's why there's no serious next series of investment. And also, Andy said about investing in the people. I really agree. For your information, we have Project Eden too, the incubator. When we select these three startups, the one thing that we see is the product, and eventually the other two is not working well. Why? Because the mindset of the founder is not entrepreneurship. It's dry. But this one co-founders, Telunjuk, did you know that they spent 1.5 years, just the two of them, creating Telunjuk up until they get investment. So they're really passionate. They're coming from Indosat, where their position is actually quite high, analyst. They resign to work on this Telunjuk when we invest and incubate them. And eventually, in 1.5 years, we actually try to incubate them 6 months and it doesn't work. In Indonesia, 6-month incubation really doesn't work. So 1.5 years, they eventually get the investment because they have tractions and everything, and they did it all by themselves. Those two people, you know, the business person and the technology person, and that is actually all you need. You know, great minds and passion. Because sometimes, just you ask them if they say that you try, or one of our investment is actually, they said that after we launch it, the next week they present about another product, and we're quite surprised, you know, because we just launched it. Why don't you focus on making this big? But this idea, I think, is a lot more better. That's when we know that we invest in the wrong person.
Thank you. Before we go to the last question, any questions from the audience? Yeah, we have two.
Terima kasih. Bahasa Indonesia. Nama saya Adi. Saya ingin menanyakan mengenai pemberdayaan sumber daya lokal, sumber daya manusia maksudnya. Kita lihat Indonesia memiliki pasar yang potensial, kemudian juga banyak pemain global yang tertarik untuk istilahnya bermain di Indonesia. Tapi kalau kita lihat 2015 ini persaingan akan ketat antara local talent dengan global talent. Nah, kira-kira bagaimana caranya supaya talent lokal ini bisa bersaing dengan talent global? Karena kalau saat ini mungkin ada beberapa universitas yang mempersiapkan untuk bersaing
misalkan ada jurusan untuk entrepreneur misalkan seperti itu, tapi tidak semua orang bisa menjadi entrepreneur kan, ada yang perlu jadi staff juga. Nah, kira-kira dari investor lokal apa yang bisa dilakukan untuk memberdayakan talent global ini? Terima kasih.
Pertanyaannya susah amat ya. Okay. To be honest, yeah, on my side, I used to be designer. That is, I have a really big picture. Oh, Indonesia is good that we have to fight for ourselves. In the end, I decided I sell my company and I become a capitalist. Today, I do investment. I do invest in company personally, yes, as an angel investor as well as through idea source investment. I never try. Sorry, you want to record it? I don't care. Previously, I tried to build Indonesia, giving all my effort, best effort to show it to the government. In the end, the one that screwed me is them. And I cannot tell the story in this place, and I don't want to tell the story. It's a very bitter story. But in the end, I decided that I have to do it myself for me, not again for this country. Sorry to say. But since I'm Indonesian, I will do it in Indonesian way. I invest in Indonesian people. I invest in Indonesian market because I understand Indonesian market. I love this country because I love Indonesian food. I already travel around the world, and the most favorite food is soto. Yeah, never find any food that I can eat morning, noon, and night. Still very nice. Yeah. So in the end, I do investment on Indonesia. It's not because I don't want to build Indonesia, because I understand Indonesia. So I never think about my responsibility to build the Indonesian culture, whatever. No, I just ask this guy, is what you build is truly have a market potential, the product potential that I believe in. I invest in a company called Kiniwo. They focus on Indonesian loyalty. He is a Singaporean born Chinese, but mixed with whatever, I don't know. But he got a company here. There is one model because Indonesia is the market. But we did a lot of investment for Indonesian founder because they are good. And I never asked once, would you want to build your country or not? That is not my problem. That is the future president problem. I only have the money to put and believe in them. That's it. So I think you have to ask that. Question to the next potential president, not you.
I agree with him.
Okay, second question.
Hi, my name is Nicky. I'm working on a clothing line offline startup. I think there's a quote by Milton Friedman, "The business of business is business." Maybe that just remind me of your view, Manny. But I have a question not on my sector of manufacturing, but on financial products comparison. I just want to know what your view is. Right now, still selling leads, like monetizing leads, like iMoney and so forth. Any trend that you can go to more like P2P? P2P? Like the person actually lending the money, but just your general view on this vertical.
So if I'm not mistaken, you're asking my opinion about the potential in the financial investment or any potential company in a financial sector, right?
Right.
Yes. The business model at this moment still mostly done in like SEM model, like meaning like when you set lead generator, everything. That is on the market side. It's not going to be scalable on the financial side. I met with a few guys that comes to us that their business model is like pitching like business model. If you know means, it means that you want to manage your spending. There's a company that comes to me to pitch for acquiring leads for credit. So instead of trying to sell SMS broadcast for KPA and everything, that is so stupid because I get it like 5 or 10 every day. It's not going to happen. I'm not converting, and they keep spending on that, and it's stupid, you know. I mean, if by internet is still the best model, I still believe that. That model is going to grow, I believe. It's still early because I don't know the understanding from the bank point of view. At this moment, they want to pay, to give you an understanding like this. Not only financial, but basically any, what I call as a lifetime value of the customer. So, to give you an example, ticket, if one person buy 500,000 rupiah transaction for ticket, whatever, and then this guy, during the lifetime spending on ticket like 10 times, the value of this lifetime value is 5 million rupiah, right? So if the lifetime value of the customer is 5 million, average, then how much money the ticket willing to spend for each customer? The answer is, if it's 10%, then you get a 500,000 rupiah per customer acquisition spending, and that's big. Lazada number for each customer, they start with 300,000 rupiah per customer. Now they optimize it probably about around 150 to 200,000 per customer acquisition. Any business model, not only financial, that focusing on the lifetime value of the customer, you can get the money from this guy by selling the leads or selling the conversion, and we are willing to pay. What is the model? To give you an example, all the e-commerce always have lifetime value, so they are going to be a big spender. Telco, during your lifetime, how much money you spend on cell phone, that is a lifetime value. Financial services, that is a lifetime value. Fitness is a lifetime value. Even food is lifetime value, right? So for me, it's not only the financial. You can go financial, but I think you have to look more than that. Even car, even selling motorcycle. The business of motorcycle is big. You sell the motorcycle, you sell the insurance, you sell the cicilan, the credit, yeah. So by aiming to a certain verticals, but see on the perspective of lifetime value, all your potential. The business model is simple. You get a commission. In school, I also invest in school because I love education. To give you an example, if one student goes to Australia, and this guy spends like the education probably 50 to 200K per year, let's say 50K, yeah, 50K a year. Then the school there will willing to give you like 15 to 20% of whatever this student will spend on that school. So all the adling, all those education consultant will survive just sending like 50 to 100 students a year. One education consultant. If you can scale, you create that platform model for any industry that have very, very long lifetime value, that is a very, very fair business model. I think you should look into more than only the financial. That is my suggestion.
Or if I may add, well, I really agree with Pak Andi, and for your information that at Jakarta.com we try to acquire new users. We're not focusing on retaining users. Why? Because the first transaction is the hardest. If they have experienced their first transaction, they will come back automatically if they have good experience. But acquiring that new user is really hard. So if you have if it's startups or company that can help people like us to acquire new users, we will work with you. For instance, like at Jakarta.com, we have a partnership, B2B partnership. We even work with a Russian company aviasales.ru Russia, and the revenue is really big. Why? Because we now have new market, new people to acquire, and eventually when they already come to our websites, the next time they will not think about any other website, they will think about us. Why? Because their experience is really good at our website. So that's my key takeaway for this.
Thanks. Maybe just one last question before we wrap up things. Can you give one prediction, one big thing that will happen in 2014 that you guys think? One big thing.
Yeah. I still think that e-commerce will be huge. I really think. And at 2010, I created a presentation saying that 2015 we will reach a maturity stage. So, and I still believe that 2015 will be really huge. The problem is we only have one more year to be prepared for 2015. So 2014 is the time for you guys to start. Yeah? And don't wait for like investors or anything, because in e-commerce you can start with just like 5-10 million. And if you're thinking about how am I going to get a product, you can have consignment. You don't have to pay in advance for those kind of products. The problem with entrepreneurs is that they are thinking that startups is technology. No, it's not technology, it's business. So you have to focus on creating networks. Ticket.com doesn't grow big because of the CTO. I have 4 co-founders. Everyone is from computer science, but only me focusing on technology. The other 3, they always go to everyone creating new relationships. So you have to focus on creating relationships rather than thinking about what platform am I going to use. Yeah, so 2014 is, it's just a year. The preparation, for example, like Ticket.com, we developed from scratch to live in 100 days. And we have, at that time, 250 direct contracting with hotels. We have Blitz Megaplex for ticketing. We have ClickBCA. We have we have credit card. All comes because of the network, not because the technology is great. Like ClickBCA. How can we get ClickBCA? At that one time, I met with one of the big people in Jarum, and then I asked, "Sir, how can I get ClickBCA?" And then he pat his brother, the director here, and the next day, all the staff contact us. So the network is actually really, really important. And I know this person, Pak Martin, is because of this community like this, because he comes to events like this. Yeah, so my recommendation for you guys is exchange cards, not credit cards, exchange cards, because you won't know that the person sitting next to you will be very, very valuable, especially like Tech in Asia, getting publicized in their what do you call it, news portal or blog now? You still call it blog, right? Blog, and it's really valuable, especially for Ticket.com too.
One thing, like I mentioned, Jokowi will win. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Only one?
Yeah. How many you want?
Okay. Still, Natalie already mentioned, the biggest in Indonesia is always e-commerce. Always. That's why I came into e-commerce in the first place in 2009. It just happened too early. Always. If you want to start small, if you're in technology, whatever 2.0, you can start now. because it'll take another 3 years to really get attraction, like Facebook, whatever. So, what else? For me, this year is good for advertising. That's why I invest in the digital agency. It's a personal investment, not through idea source. Because I want to monetize all those talak, you know. It's a good cash flow for me, okay? Not a good potential return, but good cash flow, okay? Yeah, I sell to this talak and that talak and use 2 different companies. That is good model, okay? Because they want to fight each other. So for us, yeah, we become a service agency. Yeah. Okay, get back to the previous question. What else? E-commerce already. The battle to this year is going to be on the media and portal, especially on the mobile side. We are going to see a lot of portal fight, apps portal fight going on. All those big guys. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, thank you very much. And give it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We have some small stuff before we end this. Right. So yeah, before we end the session, totally, we have 2 things to talk to you, to tell you. And this is about, where's Darren? Darren, are you here? Right, let me introduce you my colleague Darren from Singapore. He has something to say, which is definitely fascinating.
Okay, cool. I'm Darren, I'm the BizDev guy. So I would like to share with you some news and announcement. Who knows Startup Asia? Okay, pretty much everyone. Okay, so we have a Startup Asia in Singapore from 7 to 8 May. So if you are free to attend, you can go to our website. It's up now to register. Yes. So the next announcement. Recently, we have launched our Tech in Asia Premium. It's actually a subscription basis whereby you can get weekly newsletter, good news and weekly news, and then you can have free discounts from all across Asia. So do check it out, our Tech in Asia Premium. Yeah. So the last one, I just want to thank our sponsors for making this meetup and the entire meetup for 2014 a possible one. So I'm in charge of the sponsorship as well. So if let's say those companies are interested in collaborating in marketing within the sponsorship scope, do feel free to talk to me. Yeah. So the next person I would like to invite will be a person from VServe. She's one of our sponsors and we'd like to discuss more about VServe and their products. Shall I invite our guest speaker?
Okay, thank you, Darren. Thanks for the 5-minute slot given to us from VServe. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sylvia from VServe. I actually handle the mobile developer alliances in Indonesia. So VServe is a global mobile advertising network. So we work with advertisers, publishers, developers, and telcos globally. So next slide. So this is our global audience. So you can see that India is our first market. India is actually our headquarters, and Southeast Asia is our second largest market. And with app developers, we work with mobile app or games developers in all operating systems. So as you know that if you work with us, what we offer is to monetize your games and application with ads. So as Mr. Andy has mentioned that 2014 is the year for advertising. So you can see that in 2014, you can see that maybe the share for mobile ads will be bigger than last year. So this is maybe one of your chance to monetize your application and games with VServe ads. So App Wrapper is a tool that we created to to wrap your apps and games with deserved ads. So no need of coding. So with app wrapper, you can just upload your file, your games and application file, and then in one click it will be wrapped and ready to be monetized. So we work with smart feature phones, smartphones and tablets. And this is our premium ad units. As you can see that we have these full screen ads that we call billboard ads. So with App Wrapper, you can set the ad to be on the launch or exit. But you can also set that the full screen ad to be inside of the application, maybe between levels or between each menus, but therefore you have to use the SDK. We have worked with 20,000 apps globally, and in Indonesia, we have worked with, this is our developer partners globally. So, and Indonesia, next slide. We have worked with some of the top developers in Indonesia. So you can see that we also work with Blast to monetize their apps. Also Graphian, Sol and Tracklif on games, Educa Studios, Aksara. These are some of our developer partners in Indonesia. Okay, so once again, I invite to all mobile application and mobile games developer in Indonesia to, if you have a free games or free apps and you would like to monetize or earn money from advertising, you can just work with us and you can contact me at this email, sylvia.a@deserve.mobi, and this is my phone number. And we can also, I can give you also my name card later in the networking session. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. I think the best way is to catch her before she leaves later to find out more about the ad monetization platform. So last of all, I would like to thank all of you for being here, to spend your evening here. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, so it's a wrap. Oh, by the way, do notice that we are a media blog company, so if you have startups, products, good, cool things to share, do contact us. Bye-bye, thank you very much.